Oh. Hang on, sorry, guys.
On with it.
You jumped out in front of me, man. This is a parking lot.
At Park, you're guaranteed the undivided attention of my entire family, including my cousin, Chandler Park.
And our grandma, Jenny, has often referred to me as a master litigator with a silver tongue. But today, I am your friend. And this man parked in the wrong spot.
But don't worry, because at Park,
And Park,
we got your back. Park, Chandler and I are here for all your legal needs.
because injuries are no walk in the park.
Hey, that's our name.
Well, we're related.
Somebody's got to pay. We are here for you.
Park got me $20,000 cash rewards.
At Park, we understand a good attorney knows the law.
But a better attorney knows the judge.
Call now! Aw, cheer up, buddy. We saw the whole thing.
It was all his fault.
She says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids.
Hey, welcome everyone. It's either late Saturday night when you're listening to this or Sunday morning. Yeah, this is a special edition of Shooting the Shiznit, and we're not gonna do a bunch of horse shit at the front like we usually do. I'm just gonna go ahead because I already got him sitting over there live from STS Studios in Chicago, Illinois. I have Lance Levine. How's it going, Lance?
We have expanded STS Studios North. We're now STS Studios Midwest, so it is going very well here. We're reinvesting. All the money we're making off the show, we're reinvesting and making the studio that much bigger and better. It's like a performance center around here.
I love the way you say with all the money we're making. Yeah. Wink, wink. I just want to go over a few things before we actually get into the countdown. We didn't start the show or the episode like we usually do where we say, did you listen to? Because tonight it's going to all be about the top 10 downloads of Cool Kids Countdown in 2017. So if you go to stspod.club, there's one post there that'll be right under the post for this episode. It's going to have all 10 episodes and linked. So if we say something exciting or stupid, or you say, hell, I want to listen to that episode, all you got to do is go there and link it. Also, before we get more to you, Lance, we're having a Christmas contest. You have to listen to all 5 episodes in December. That's right. We got 5 big episodes in December, including this one. We got Bob McGee, Gene Jackson Tuesday talking about WrestleCade. We got a round table as it is, probably a clusterfuck. Already signed for is Lance and me and JoJo, and I got a bunch of other people I'm going to have call in.
JoJo from WWE?
No. I'm sorry.
Oh, forget it.
JoJo from Conan's show.
That JoJo.
That JoJo. I'm sorry. And then we got Bob and McGee coming on, and then we got the big Shiznitter finals, and then we're taking the last 2 weeks off in December, and me and Lance are headed to Hawaii to visit. So
not together, separate rooms.
I'm going to be at one part of the hotel. He's going to be on the other. But Christmas contest, here it is. You have to listen to all 5 episodes. And there'll be 5 special words. After the Shiznit finals, you will either inbox me on Facebook or DM me on Twitter with the 5, I love this, special words. First, second, and third person that contacts me wins. We're giving away lunch boxes because we have Lunch Levine, and Dr. X masks, T-shirts, stickers, a little bit of everything. But what you got to do is you have to listen to all 5 episodes. So the special word today is special. So that's the first word, special. Write it down somewhere. 5 special words, and the first word is special. And speaking of special, let's talk to Lance again.
Oh, boy. Special Olympics. Here it is. So this one is a show within a show. I like to think of this one, it's the top 10 of the top 10. It's like those Russian dolls that stack within themselves, so it's very confusing. So what you put, and I'm sure there's some politically incorrect term there, Russian dolls that stack, whatever. So I'm sure there's some PC term for those things. But anyway, highest rated episodes, highest downloads of this madness that we do. It was like really interesting when you put together the list for me of what the highest downloads were. It was really interesting. The ones that didn't make it that I was surprised was no cliches, the top 10 cliches in wrestling, and the top 10 most irrelevant things in wrestling. So, like he said, go to the link, look for those. Those were fun shows too. And we do have a lot of stuff, great stuff planned for 2018. So make sure you listen. Like you said, we're going to take some time off in December because we have families and, you know, it's Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all that. So, and don't forget, I do have the macrame, origami, and paper mache spin-off podcast coming in 2018 too, and that'll be backed by BT. It'll be the Moms Show, and we got that to look forward to too. I'm thinking it'll be 6-hour episodes too. That's what I'm working on.
Well, I thought maybe we could release it, you know, at 12 o'clock every Sunday. So
I think so. We should. Yeah. So
you know, so what episodes? I'm sorry. I'll talk over you because it's my fucking show. No, this show is mine and yours. But still, you know what surprised me were the two with the managers and the
announcers.
The announcers, yeah. Those two were a surprise because they didn't even, you know, crack in our shows. And I've been pretty honest and upfront with everyone when it comes to shows and what we download.
Yeah.
And those two shows were about half of what an average down. Well, maybe more close to a third, which is really surprising. I mean, it wasn't Kevin Gill downloads, you know, but it was pretty low there.
You know what? My theory on that is that people were busy listening to other more serious takes on it. You know, we did fun takes on it, and we did our takes, didn't necessarily have to do specifically with Bobby Heenan or Lance Russell. And when that happened, they probably wanted to listen to the news about those deaths. So maybe that's why. I don't know. It's just a theory.
All right, let's get going. The top 10. Now, these are the top 10 most downloaded Cool Kids countdowns. Say that one more time. But go ahead, Lance.
So at number 10, we start off with the top 10 takeaways from the Mae Young Classic.
All right, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freestyle here and try to remember the shit that I said. Guys, if you're sitting here listening, and like I said, go to stspod.club, and you can click on and listen to the whole episode. The one thing I remember about saying on this episode that one, I think Vicious said something about this on his show or in Cool Kids Facebook group, was the one thing I can remember is that we seen a birth control patch for the first time in professional wrestling. You know, I mean, I'm glad she's taking care of herself, you know, and making sure we don't get pregnant during all this too. So I appreciate her doing that. And I think what stood out to me now after the Mae Young's gone, you know, is gone, and we'll probably end up having
Mae Young is gone.
Well, you know, she's dead.
Okay.
Right? She's dead.
Wasn't sure.
Is that Toni Storm, of all people, never got a contract. That's all I can think about. I'm just like, we put her in Hottest Chicks too, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but that's the thing that just, you know, I'm just in awe about that she didn't actually get a contract.
My memory of that show, it's hard for me to differentiate between actually watching the Mae Young Classic when it was on in July and the fact that I attended 3 all-day Shimmer tapings right before that and 3 more right after it. So all the women's wrestling just all kind of blends together for me. So, but what I will say, and props to Dave Prazak, a former guest on Shooting the Shiznit, for the fact that there would be no Mae Young Classic if it wasn't for Shimmer. I mean, Shimmer basically filled that roster and set the template for that show taking place, or that tournament taking place. I thought the WWE did a great job with the tournament. I thought they made some stars, potential stars, Shayna Baszler for sure, Kairi Sane, however the fuck you say it, Piper Niven, and like you said, Toni Storm, who, yeah, it's kind of surprising that she's not signed by one of the bigger groups yet, but I'm not sure what her contract with Stardom is. So they could have kept those women simmering a little bit more longer, a little more straight, through the fall and into the winter. But let's see what WrestleMania brings, what the plan is with Rousey coming in and doing the 4 horse faces against the 4 horse faces. So we'll see how that goes. So that was a fun show at number 10. At number 9, we have the top 10 promotions of 2017.
Yeah, I mean, top 10 promotions, I think probably nothing has changed when it comes to this. But I want to tell you, I know I'm going to get shit for this from all the New Japan hardcores here, but New Japan has really bored me since G1. I don't know. There's been a couple of shows with, a couple of matches that I really enjoyed. I don't know G1. I always get what I call the G1 blues after G1, where I've watched so much fucking wrestling that I don't really want to watch wrestling at all. But I'm so sick of the tags, unless it's just someone really special I want to see in the matches. And I'm excited about, the January show, but, and I think WWE, SmackDown and Raw have just become, we're talking, I watched both of them in probably less than 40 minutes this week. So, it's tough to get what I'm really enjoying in wrestling. I don't know if it's because I still got the G1 blues, or I'm just, I'm sick of what they're doing over and over and over, so.
Well, you said not much has changed. One thing that's totally changed is TNA is just gone from my top 10. And I try to be objective. I used to be a huge fan of TNA, and I try to at least be objective about it. But I'll tell you what, all the moves they've made this year have just been such garbage and so bad. They are not going to get a sniff of our top 10 if we do that again a year from now. I think ROH is just continuing to explode. I think that with the Bullet Club, all the Bullet Club stuff that's going on between ROH and New Japan, they're just going to continue to get bigger and bigger. And we had them at number 4. ROH, I think, was 4, and New Japan was number 1. They're even going to get bigger next year on our list, if it's even possible. It feels to me like I don't disagree with what you're saying about the fall in New Japan, but I think it's always like that. You get burned out on G1, which is outstanding, and then I think creatively and from a physical standpoint, they just take a break, and they don't ramp it up again until January. So, but I see New Japan continuing to get bigger, adding more U.S. dates for sure, obviously. I just feel like they don't ever make a wrong move. PWG seems content with their business model. They're probably going to stay exactly what they're doing. They seem like they're fine just where they're at. And I think WWE, we had them at number 5, and I think they don't stay, even though they will continue to try to own the world but never succeed. They don't have a breakout star, and that's, for me, that's the biggest thing, that they're not going to be as big as they could be or once were, in a sense, because they don't have that Austin or Rock guy right now. They have the closest thing they have is Cena, and he's not even there full time. So I think WWE is still going to pretty much tread water basically where they're at next year. So at number 8, we had the top 10 types of wrestling fans.
Yes, and you know what? I didn't even participate in this, so I didn't. I just we brought Jim Vicious on from Suplex City Limits, and I thought it was really funny after the show. The comments he made, he either sent me inbox or it was in one of the groups there where he said, I was out of my element. So and I told you, I actually messaged you, inboxed you, we could get someone to do it now so it would go bong while we're recording. But I inboxed you when we was doing it and said, keep it going or something like that, because it was like we were pulling teeth at first with Jim. I think he did okay by the end, but like he said, he was out of his realm, But it was fun, and one of the things that we even talked about on the last episode with the Who's Right guys was that guy that's always carrying the belt, So that's the scary My Little Pony wrestling fan. So I thought that was one of the funniest things I ever heard a comparison to. But it fits right in there when grown-ass men are carrying around My Little Pony and are carrying around a championship belt, and I used to know a friend that carried it into a bar all the time. So like he was the world champion or something.
We will not be doing a top 10 bronies countdown. I can guarantee you that. So top 10 types of wrestling fans. I like to call that episode the boyhood dream comes true for me because working with Jim on that show was outstanding. It was so much fun working with Jim Vicious from Suplex. Great show, and like you said, I crack up in looking back at it now because he was out of his element, and it was pretty funny because the format of what we do on this show caught him totally off guard, but it was still a fun listen. It was a fun show to do. As far as the wrestling fans themselves, oddly enough, we had Bullet Club T-shirt guys on the list, and now I think Bullet Club T-shirt guys have kind of turned the corner, and they're actually okay because Bullet Club has resumed its coolness again. So belt guys will still never be okay no matter what. I don't care, unless perhaps the Young Bucks decide to put their merchandising force behind belts, and belts become cool to walk around with, but I don't see that happening. The Smarks are basically the Twitter Wrestling Observer bashers. That's basically what the Smarks are these days. I think there would be no Twitter commentary against Meltzer unless it was for the Smarks from, England or wherever, Pakistan or wherever they keep on writing him from. There will always be group elitists. We had that in there too, as the WWE elitists and the New Japan elitists, which is so silly to me because there's fucking good wrestling all over the place. There's no way that you could possibly say that only good wrestling is WWE or New Japan or whatever. TNA, God help you if you think that's the only good wrestling there is. So, and the number one type of fan we had was us, which is cool because there's the types of fans like us that appreciate the business and just simply get it. So, number 8 was top 10 types of wrestling fans. Number 7 on the list of top 10s was, and I don't know if this was a typo or what, but you sent it to me twice. It was the top 10 Rest Canania moments. So I think you meant WrestleMania moments, but I'm not sure. But the list said top 10 Rest Canania moments, so that was the show.
That was my only misspelled word for the last, 10 seconds. So.
10 years.
It was 10 WrestleMania moments, and that's all I got to say because I can't remember what they were. Is that sad?
So, the Rest Canadian moments. I believe that was the Canadian version of the paper.
Oh, maybe that's the reason I don't remember it then.
Yeah. Well, it was in Canadian, too, so you probably just didn't understand it. Looking back now on WrestleMania from this year, honest to God, the only memorable thing that I take away from that show looking back at it now was the Undertaker retirement. That was the only memorable thing that happened. And we did 10, of course, obviously, and we did it obviously right after the show, so there were things that resonated then. But yeah, the Undertaker's retirement, if that's even true, which it probably is, was the only takeaway. You had Aries and Neville in that opening match that was excellent, but it was left off the DVD, and now look at both of the guys are... Well, Aries is for sure gone. Neville, we think, probably is gone. So that was on that show. The Hardys' massive pop for the surprise appearance was on that show, but look at them now. Jeff is out with the injury. Matt is starting the broken thing now, but who knows if it's been too long. They let the iron died out on that, so we'll see if that takes off again, if they can possibly resuscitate Matt Hardy's career. Stephanie went through the table, never followed up on. She was off for a couple months, but whatever. Pitbull performed amidst a 6-hour fucking show. Like, what the fuck was that?
It's sad that I would have had to look up WrestleMania for the moments because I can't remember because it seemed like it was so long. That's the only thing I remember about WrestleMania is long, and had to do the 10-10-10 thing moment. And I was just looking over these when we started talking. I was like, I remember more about something that some other one than I do WrestleMania. What hell happened at WrestleMania?
Yeah,
so, that's pretty sad.
Goldberg's kid kept his shirt on. That was a highlight for me, that Goldberg's pudgy little kid kept his shirt on. And finally, Al Roker, who wasn't fired this week. The other guy got fired from the Today Show this week, but Al Roker pronounced her name Maryse, and it made me think of when he called him Jerry the Ring Lawler at the Macy's Day Parade. So I don't know why Al Roker wasn't fired this week instead of the other guy. Whatever. There's all kinds of inappropriate sexual behavior on this show all the time, and nobody gets fired from here. So anyway, that was number 7, the Rest Canania moment. So at number 6 was my favorite show. It was the top 10 wrestlers of the 30s.
Top 10 wrestlers of the 30s. Hey, I'm going to pull it back a little bit. We have pretty much stayed, unless you inbox us, or we stay kind of quiet about this episode to see the response. And also, again, Jamie Ward, fuck you.
Just on general principles.
I love Jamie Ward. Jamie, you're the best when it comes to everything that we do here. He's one of those guys behind the scenes that actually listens to everything and gives us feedback, so that means a lot to me. But fuck you anyway. I came up with this idea as just, to me, it's just one of these things where you say, wouldn't it be funny if we talked about wrestlers in the 30s? You know, there's no fucking idea I even knew any wrestlers from the 30s or what they were doing. I then gave the idea to you and said, okay, this is my idea. You kind of said, you sent it back to me, and then we tweaked it a little bit more. But the funny thing that everyone has to realize is that you came up with the names, and then we spent about 10 minutes looking at the names, and then we just went ad-lib. We just went live.
Yeah.
So if you want to listen to an episode that should be getting us awards for being funny, I hate to say that about myself. I'm not but I thought the episode was some of the other episodes that we did that people like more. I thought the episode, kind of flawless when it came to what we were doing and what we were trying to accomplish. And I've got DMs for different people that said, it's one of the funniest things, the most creative things ever. And so to say that makes me feel good. And just for me to get a laugh, out of these people. Now I want to get someone that wants to do artwork and that will do, all our top 10 characters from the 30s. And then we'll have like a top 10 every week. And then our podcast will last 3 hours. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. We'll get to that here in a minute. But
yeah, that's coming
go
up
ahead.
in the question segment. What I loved about, like I said, it was my favorite show. Just we had so much fun putting it together and doing it. And like you said, the putting it together was pretty minimal, but we had so much fun. It came across so well. People thought it was real. I got messages from people asking if it was real. So some people got it right away. I got messages like saying, you're pulling my leg, this is not real. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. You figured it out. There were some really weird guesses on it, too, from people asking us, what was it a parody of? There were some really out there ideas as to what it was a parody of.
Well, I just made that joke too. I made that joke that it was about the 605 thing, and it really wasn't. We had that wasn't what it was about. So that kind of, I think, some people thought, well, y'all making fun of the top 10 and making up characters. No, we really weren't. We were just, I just had an idea. I thought it was funny that we could talk about people that didn't really exist.
Right,
it really didn't exist. And the thing about it is, it reminded me of just, like I said, we just ad-libbed it. We just got on, you gave us the names, and we talked. So it was really fun.
If I had to answer the question of what it was a parody of, it was a parody of the Stuck in the Past fans. That to me, that's what I was looking at, is like the people that only talk about, the Wolfgang von Klemper from 1930, and that's when wrestling was good, and now it sucks. That was, to me, that's what it was a parody of, is the people who were just simply stuck in the past. And I honestly, I'll echo what you're saying. I thought it was your best performance on any of the shows that we've done. I thought you played the straight man on that show, and you just like worked in anecdotes here and there about people that seemed so real and so realistic, behind the scenes type stuff. So I thought you did such a great job on that show. I do want to clarify, there will be Tweety Peters merchandise coming in 2018. As well as there will be T-shirts with, of course, I was asked this again, the Wolfgang von Klemper catchphrase, "Dot is the truth, son." That will be on the T-shirt in 2018. So you got that to look forward to.
My
Perhaps
God.
at Hot Topic. We might be able to get them at Hot Topic. We're working on it. We're
knows,
negotiating.
Man, who knows?
So number 6 was top 10 wrestlers of the 30s.
All right, man, let's take a quick break and we'll go to a commercial.
Hey, BT. Who's your favorite sports team, anyway?
Oh, man, Lance, I'm a big Cowboys fan. We hadn't been having a great season this year. But also, I'm in live from St. Louis, Missouri, so, I do follow the Cardinals. But, yeah, I'd say the Cowboys are my favorite team.
Well, anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge Dodger fan. And I just want to recommend everyone go to a great site that we found that helps support the show. Go to tinyurl.com/STSfanatics and just shop away.
Yeah, if you put that link in your browser and then shop, we get a kickback here, and it helps the show. They have NBA, Major League Baseball, they have NFL, tons of stuff.
I heard they have NASCAR.
Oh, they have NASCAR, too.
Yeah, because people say NASCAR. Anyway, you can actually just put tinyurl.com/STSFANATICS into Google, and it'll find the site for you.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the site today, and they always have a huge sale. I think it was like 65% off. Christmas is right around the corner, folks. Anyone that buys something, we get a kickback. Now, back to the show.
All right, so back to the top 10 top 10s of top 10 land, or whatever the fuck this show is called. So anyway, at number 5, really happy to find this one at number 5, is the top 10 hot chicks of 2017, a recent broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, that was our last broadcast, and when I did the original list, all of a sudden, I don't know, last couple of weeks when we haven't released anything, it seems like everyone's listened to that. So it just jumped into the top 10 out of nowhere, kind of. Because at one point, the 1930s there was, number 5 at one time. But for some reason, everyone started listening to the Hot Chicks. It was fun for me because we started this out as, and it was episode 69, by the way. Get it? 69. We were going to be, at first, we kind of thought about being just a perverted show, and we didn't want to be politically correct 100%. So I thought it went well what we did. And, you can't, I don't think you could really disagree with us on a lot of stuff. I'm surprised, some of the girls we did leave out, which we've already mentioned this, but we did leave out Becky Lynch, and a few other girls that we didn't, and it may change. This is what we're going to do. Some of these shows you'll see more of, like the WrestleMania show. You'll see it in 2018, and also this Hot Chicks, in December of next year. Yeah, we're actually planning ahead of time. But yeah, it was a fun show, and I thought it came off not for 12-year-old wrestling fans that just look at boobs and ass. So.
Wait, we're not supposed to?
Well, no, I'm not saying we were supposed to. I'm just saying,
okay.
We also looked at the work rate.
Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, infamous episode number 69. Now, would it be 69 in Canada, too, for the Canadian listeners, or is there a conversion there? I don't know. I was surprised. What I was surprised by was there was no enormous criticism over the fact, the couple things, that Alexa Bliss was number 1. I didn't get any messages like hating on us for that one, and I thought we were going to get messages hating on us for Asuka being number 5. Like, how the fuck could Asuka be number 5, you assholes? I thought for sure that was going to be criticized too, but I figure maybe people finally realized that this is just our opinions. What a concept! We were just saying our opinions, and nobody gave us a bunch of shit over it. So I am glad that we factored in other stuff, like you said before, and I think we said it during the show, if it was up to me, it would have been the perv top 10, and it would have just been based on looks. But I'm glad that you, Mr. PC, you had to get in work rate, and you had to get in the in-ring and the character and the promos and stuff. So in retrospect, I'm glad that we did. What I want to know in light of that episode is there a pair of smart-ass women wrestling fans that do a podcast that would also do the same show, but in reverse, and do the top 10 dudes in wrestling, and they would factor in looks and work rate and promo and stuff? Does SJ or any other, smart women wrestling fans do a podcast that they could do the opposite of this? Or, on the other hand, you could do that, and your top 10 would your top 10 dudes would be Moose and Lashley and Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. And you see where I'm going with this, fans. Anyway.
ADR.
Yeah. ADR. Oh, ADR, that's right. Oh, he breaks the mold, though. So I guess ethnic guys, that's your type. So anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
So number 5, top 10 hot chicks 2017. So at number 4, we had the best paid, top 10 paid wrestlers in the Forbes list in 2016.
I always love this. Honestly, I haven't listened to this episode since it came out, which was, we're looking at episode 13.
Way back.
And I can't even remember who the top 10, who the number 1 was or anything like that. The main thing is I like seeing how much money some of the guys are making when it comes to the top 10 compared to, the other guys. And that's the fun part about always getting that list of guys and how much money they're making. I even read an interview with Ziggler today talking about him leaving, potential him leaving WWE, and him talking about, he actually is probably gets paid a little bit more than, the normal guys, and got a little bit of, different perks, like when it comes to planes and stuff like that. So it's different guys have different things when it comes to perks and stuff. So it's kind of fun to know how much they are actually making, instead of people saying, oh, they don't make any money, or they don't, they're not seen by anybody and stuff like that. So yeah.
I think I could be wrong, but I think this was our first top 10 list that we did. This was the first countdown.
10 was the WrestleMania.
Was it? Okay, 10. So this was probably second.
Episode 10. Wow.
10. Put it all together. This list is definitely going to change next year. Can Taker still possibly be on the list for 2017? He was number 8 on that list. He worked one day this year. As far as I'm aware, he worked one day this year. Ambrose was number 5 last year, which is bizarre to me that he would be that high on the WWE earnings. And Rollins was number 8. So,
well, it's just because they're working so much. Those guys,
they never miss days,
Yeah, I think Ambrose has the most matches,
for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, those guys never miss days. And, I mean, this year they're going to, the last half of the year they're going to have the huge Shield merchandise or merch sales too. So they're going to still be on the list for sure. I think Cena and Roman will probably both go up from wherever they were at on that list because Cena had a couple movies this year. Roman, again, never misses days. And, again, the merch sales. Lesnar was number 1. You didn't remember, but Lesnar was number 1. So he's definitely going to drop because there's no UFC fights this year. So his income, I'm sure he doesn't have to go, on food stamps or anything, but his income's not going to be what it was, at least as far as placement on the top 10 from a year ago. And what's interesting to me is Orton was number 10 at $1.9 million. And what I thought about was, I wonder if the Young Bucks, if you put together the Young Bucks income, do they scratch that dollar amount? Do they come close based on...
I don't know. I really don't. That's, I don't know.
I mean, all the places they work, all the merch sales in every place they go, Hot Topic, I think those guys are making a fortune. They got to be the highest paid guys on the indies right now. And I think they could possibly give Orton a run for his money at 1.9. Styles was number 6 on the list too, which I think that this year, if anything, if it's based on merit, Styles should be fucking number 1 this year because of being, again, a guy who never misses days. That cross-world flight that he had when everybody had the mumps or whatever, and he had to fly up from like the South fucking Pole to get to the
gonorrhea, man. It was gonorrhea. Come on, tell the truth.
That was your house, not the WWE.
Oh,
so.
No.
But yeah, Styles was number 6, which just goes to show how amazing that is too, because he's been there. It'll be 2 years in January. It'll be 2 years that he's been there now. It doesn't feel like that long at all. So number 4 on the top 10 is the top 10 paid in 2016. At number 3, this is a funny one, is the top 10 improvements for 205 Live was the 3rd highest downloads for us.
And, we got a lot. People were patting us on the back. I remember a couple of people sending me, that's great ideas. The funny thing, if you look at any of it, they still haven't changed. We could air this one as a new episode. I think I will. I think I'll air this as a special new episode, and then they could change. The only thing they've changed with 205 Live is they brought Enzo over there. There's, and I actually watched some of the stuff when Enzo first went on there, but he is like, I just can take him in small doses, and it's almost like they made it the Enzo show, and I just, and they haven't, I think they still have the same people having same matches. I mean, it just, every time I see the results, I think to myself, well, the roster hasn't changed or nothing's changed since the day I watched it. There is still some stars there that, and if they would take the advice, I think, try to do it PWG in the sense that, balls to the walls kind of, X Division like TNA does, but do it for every match and do it, I still say put it in a smaller arena and we may have, some success there. I
just laughed. Like you said, you stole my thunder. I looked at the top 10 things that we suggested, and they've done absolutely none of them, And, I mean, our ideas weren't crazy, bullshit, jokey, any ideas. They were all legit, serious things that they could do. It wasn't just, snarky, funny stuff that we were being sarcastic. It was like stuff like move the show to a Full Sail or move it to a different place, expand the roster, like you said, a lot of more action than what they're doing. take the guys off Raw, make it like a destination show so that people have to watch that show if they want to see those guys. And like you said, the only thing they changed was fucking bringing in Enzo, of all people. And Mauro Ranallo is gone, too, which honest to God, I have not watched it. And it's just a coincidence. I haven't watched it since Mauro's been gone. They've gone, like Meltzer reports the numbers of how, what the top viewing on the network is, and it's gone from what, number 15 to number 13 or something. So it's like, Enzo being there hasn't made that much of a difference. It
only made a difference for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
it did a couple weeks. It really meant something. And I think Enzo is, to the general public, is the same he is with me. You could take him in small doses. If you put him on the show, we got a ding. It'll be in the episode, and you'll be happy. We got a Facebook ding just then. I really think the way Enzo could help 205 Live is do the old deal where he would just show up maybe once every month, in the sense that he's the champion and he's not going to be on TV but once a month defending his belt. Old-timey, the champion only comes in once a month. But what do I guess you put him in dark matches the rest of the time. But I think that, that's the sin. They want to see what was going to happen, and then it was the same old shit, and people just turned it off.
Yeah, so. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, the show can just go away. It serves no purpose. It's probably the worst thing they do on a weekly basis. And where's the British show? That never happened. It may never happen. Who knows? Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, Wolfgang. You got all these great guys that are somewhat under contract, and they're doing nothing with those guys. So those guys could get their own show and take this 205 crap off the air. And I think bottom line is, and I think this covers all their shows, they just need better writers, period, end of discussion. And mainly for 205, because it's such hot garbage without any improvement. So at number 2 was the yin to the yang. It was the top 10 things that we love about pro wrestling in 2017.
You know what? I probably still love everything that I loved then.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what I do love about pro wrestling, and it is podcasts, because there's only 3 or 4 podcasts in pro wrestling.
Right.
And no. I've just been so surprised that when I got back to podcasting, and doing it, that there's so many out there. Still having a great time with professional wrestling, and will always love it. And this, I think, with the podcasting and with the Facebook group that we do, has made me love the business even more, because even when I'm shitting on it, I'm having fun shitting on it. No pun intended there. But I mean, can you tell us I don't even remember actually what we said, so that tells you how much I have a horrible memory. But tell us some of the things that we love.
Like I said, this was the counterpoint to what is obviously going to be the number 1 show. But yes, there are tons of things we love about professional wrestling in 2017. We had Lucha Underground. We had New Japan. We had the availability of so much product these days and making it so easy between YouTube and the networks and so on. We had the Facebook groups. We had the Observer itself. We had the podcasts and the friendships that come from those podcasts, and like talking to the guys that do the shows. We had the indie scene in 2017. And it's only going to get even better, I think, in 2018 as far as probably all of those things. I'm not sure where Lucha Underground stands. It probably will come back in the late spring. The fact that you can literally, and I talked about this came up in the group a couple weeks ago, I watched either live, I literally either went to a live show or watched wrestling nightly for 2 straight weeks without a day off. And it wasn't like a complaint or anything. It was just like, I guess, bragging about the fact that we do have access to so much great product. And yeah, I'm lucky. I live in Chicago, so we have a lot of things going on here. But between Shimmer and Freelance here in Chicago, and then all the stuff that's on TV on virtually a nightly basis between the networks and everything else, we've got so much great product to listen to and watch. And the people that complain about the product these days, forget you. We don't have time for you. Bye, Felicia. So at number 1, the most downloaded show in 2017 was the things we hate about professional wrestling in 2017.
You know what? We got more fucking heat for this than anything we've ever done. I mean, if somebody was going to get butthurt about what we said, there was 3 or 4 people that thought this episode was all about them. Well, if you thought it was all about you, well, it fucking was all about you. Okay, that's just the way I feel about it. I hate all those things, and I will go on record to say I do listen sometimes to Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson, and it is a 4-hour fucking podcast. It takes me 7 days to listen to it, and the last episode I listened to, I swear to God, I was sleeping and I was dreaming I was walking somewhere, and Conrad and Bruce were actually narrating what I was doing. And it was like, well, what do you think, Bruce? What is BT going to do now? And I woke up and I thought, what the fuck? They're actually, so I took a break from them, but they have a couple of really good episodes. I love the Jeff Jarrett episode. I love the Rock episode and the Bret Hart. I never was a huge fan of Bret Hart, but those 3 episodes, if you want to listen to anything, long episodes, there you go. And as I said, I probably hate all these things just like I love all the other things too. So nothing's really changed. So, go to STS pod.club and listen to the 10 things we hate, and you'll be pissed off at us too. And somebody else kind of gives me the cold shoulder because I bitch because they watch wrestling and talk about the old shows on Twitter. So I kind of got not a real cold shoulder, but kind of,
lukewarm shoulder.
Not ice. Yeah, there you go.
This show is snarkolepsy personified as far as I'm concerned. Replica belt guys are not us. I don't care what people say. When people look down on wrestling fans and they look at the replica belt guys and they think that we're all like that. We're not all like that. Fuck you. Ty Dillinger phenomenon, that was one of the things we hated. I think the 10 chant is the what of 2017. Enzo was one of the things that we hated back then, and now I feel much more justified because pretty much everybody fucking hates Enzo. So I think I was in on the ground floor on that one. Juice Robinson, I'm coming around on him a little bit. Maybe I'm from a 6% liking him to maybe an 8%. I still don't like the dreadlocks. I still don't like his weird shaped body. I don't like the ass tattoo. I certainly don't like that belt on his trunks. The Roman Reigns bashers have quelled a little bit briefly because of the Shield reunion, but I think they'll come back in force in time for WrestleMania. And finally, like you said, the 5-hour podcast people. I think that people like to hear themselves talk, and I think that, and we'll probably get into this when we get to the questions later, but the level of self-importance that these people have as wrestling fans is insane and delusional. That's what I have to say about the people that are doing these long-ass podcasts that they just take themselves too fucking seriously. So, anyway, there's one thing I know that for sure is never going to happen on this show is that we take ourselves too damn seriously. So that we will work till the end of the day to make sure that doesn't happen. So the number one most downloaded podcast was the Things We Hate episode. So like BT said, go back and listen to that one.
Now remember, all on stsclub.pod, stspod.club. There we go. I'm not cutting that. Fuck it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. And what we do, we got a special part of this episode, and this may even turn into the biggest episode ever. But we got a special part. But I've got to do my catchphrase first, and we got to end it. And then we're going to come back with 3 questions we had that I put up for today for the listeners to ask. So here we go. Same bat time, same bat channel. Remember, we're the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. All right, Lance. Let's do it. I should have did this earlier in the week. And we took so long to get this episode out because I was sick, and we won't talk about that. But
I think we should talk about that. It was fascinating.
Okay, let's just say, here's what I want to ask people. Have you ever had the crapping pukes? That's all I want to ask. So if you've ever had that, and you have to decide whether you're going to shit on yourself or puke on yourself, there you go. That's what happens when. And thank God I work from home. Let's just don't say anything.
So many wrestling fans have told me they've crapped on themselves, and I feel left out because I have not. I'm sad to admit that I have not ever crapped myself as an adult. So I feel really left out, and I apologize. So
Jim Vicious is my homeboy right there. Yeah. All right. Okay.
He's not the only one. There's other ones too, but that's beside the point. So yeah. So you put up this all of a sudden, out of left field today, you put up a request for questions. So, yeah, we should definitely do this as a regular segment because the ones that we got so far are good ones. So, first one comes from Chris Curtis from Cool Kids, and he asked, why is Sexy Star shooting on people? So you have a theory on that one?
The thing with Rosemary, I think that I don't want to say this and make everyone think that I think what Sexy Star did was right. I think that was kind of over-exaggerated because there was so much going on, okay? I don't think she should have done it, don't get me wrong. But we weren't in Sexy Star's shoes. She may have just been thought she was defending herself. Now, she's got a lot of flack for it, hadn't been booked over here. I don't know if she's been booked in America since. But then we got another one this weekend. If you watch that, I got to agree with the guys over at the Conan show that was talking about it. It just looked like a green-ass girl had kicked her in the face. And, you know, I've been at shows, many shows on the indie circuit where, and I've even, you know, accidentally hit somebody or something, you know, a couple times. But what looked like happened was that the girl kicked the fuck out of her in the face on mistake, and then she just beat the shit out of the girl. Now, let me tell you, shit like that happens all the time, especially in a place like Mexico. Those guys are stiff and could care less. So, I mean, I don't know if she's just shooting because she's just an asshole. I don't know. But, you know, if someone kicked me in the face, I'd probably, you know, want to give a receipt also back. So
I had always heard that Sexy Star is just a head case. And so when this happened with Rosemary, it didn't really surprise me because that was always the running tag on her is that she was a head case. So like you said, they're known for working snug in Mexico. And I think there was some roughing up of Sexy Star happening earlier in that match. So she took the receipt on Rosemary. And I think the fact that Rosemary is so well liked in America, behind the scenes in the locker rooms, I know she's really well liked, and obviously she's very well liked by the fans. So I think that it took on a real big, you know, life of its own, this whole scandal with Sexy Star, because Rosemary is such a well liked person. So yeah, you're right. She's not getting any work in the States. She'll probably get some work still in Mexico. But, yeah, she kind of blew it for herself for a long time. I mean, she may be able to rehab her career, but it's going to take a while. So, Sexy Star, my theory, she's just a fucking head case, so that's why she's shooting on people, because she doesn't know any better. Question number 2 and 3, actually, came from our man Randy Smith. The first question was, who threw the first punch in the 605 feud, and why is there so much hatred for Brian Last? So... you want to take this one, or should I? Because I know who threw the first punch.
I know. Let me just. I think I've covered a lot of my stuff that happened with me with him. I think I've told the whole story. And I mean, more power to him. I'm not going to say, you know, I never listened to 605. You know, but I'm not going to sponsor or help somebody that's not willing to help me. And I never understood, you know, and I explained it on that one episode. The main thing that happened with Lance, and Lance is going to tell his part, and the main thing that happened with me was I was just wanting to post something and promote a show, which ended up being one of the most popular shows out there. But didn't even have anything about 605 because I actually edited out. So I wanted to post it in the 605 group. He just said it was a conflict of interest. I have no idea what that means. It had Tom Robinson on it talking about 605, and I thought some of his listeners would like it. So I was going to put it in. He said conflict of interest, so I took every reference to 605 off of that show. Didn't really say anything about it. Then actually tweeted out a Dr. X T-shirt that we sell, STS merch, you know, /tinyurl.com. But yeah, I mean, and he blocked me on Twitter. So talk about a head case. That's the kind of thing that bothers me. I don't hate the guy. I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
First punch I don't know if that predates me making all the jokes mainly on Twitter and in the group about the length of the podcast.
No, it doesn't. You were a cunt.
So yeah, I think the first punch was just me just not understanding, like, why is there such big audience for that show? Because it's 4 or 5 hours long, and it just, honestly, it always bored me from the beginning. It just, the subject matter didn't interest me whatsoever. I didn't think it was funny. I'm not stuck in the 80s. I don't live in the 80s. I don't need to hear about Tommy Rich and Boogie Woogie Man and all these characters from back then. I lived through it, and that's fine. I want to enjoy wrestling and topics about wrestling today. So the first punch was probably me just poking fun at the show for being so long and boring. I honestly tried listening to it on more than one occasion. I got maybe 15 minutes into a show before I could turn it off. So you're taking subject matter that bores the shit out of me and you're stretching out to 4 hours. I'm like, that's just a recipe for not giving a shit. So I was making jokes constantly about the length of the show and so on, and then he called me a cunt, and then it went from there. The hatred for him, I just think he's, like I referenced earlier, he's one of these delusional guys, and as a pro wrestling fan, he's a delusional guy that loves to hear his own voice and thinks he's way, way more important than he is. So these guys that believe their own press clippings, I don't have time for that shit. So that was the genesis of it for me. And then Randy Smith's second question was a founding father of the group telling us we should address a founding father group telling us to basically go fuck ourselves because 605 was going to make him famous. So.
All right. So people that don't know this, we had Tom Robinson a couple of episodes back. Tom's been a friend of mine forever. And so there was a conflict because of 605, and Tom left the group that me, you, and Tom started in the Cool Kids, an MMA talk. It was, Tom had talked about doing it forever. And it was because I was posting shit on my, Facebook page, and it was just all of us getting together and doing it. It was under Tom's name, but he invited all of us all at once, so we're kind of like the founding fathers. Tom left because he was upset. I think he left, and I'm not speaking for Tom. He would have to tell his own side of the story. But I think Tom left in the sense that because, we were making fun of Brian Lass, and he had conflict of interest there. And then he seemed to be blowing up at you, Lance, more than he did anyone. And I didn't really understand any of that. I try to stay out of it if you'd ever go to the long posts. And then at one point, I told Tom that, we could actually talk, but we couldn't talk about Brian Last or anything about 605. And we've stayed friends. I like Tom. I've always, me and Tom's always been friends. I reach out at least once a week and ask him what's going on. And he's been on this show, talked about his problems with 605. And it was, the thing about it is sometimes you have someone that sees an opportunity, and there's a carrot that they're wanting you to get that carrot, and I think Tom thought 605 was going to be the show for him, and maybe thinking, there was a lot more, to me, there's a lot more, I don't know how to say this. There's a more hype to what's going on than there really is going on. So you got to take some stuff serious. But me and Lance talk about this, but we try to, I try to get a show out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just little things like that make people. And you guys, I take it serious that you enjoy the show. I try to give a good quality product. But when it comes to what podcasting and wrestling. A wrestling podcast and the importance of a wrestling podcast is to, the world. We understand it. We get it. We love it that you're listening to us, and we'll do it to the end of time, and we love doing it. But, it's low on the list. I understand.
Yeah.
There's more things in the world that's important, like blowjobs.
Yeah.
I'd rather get a blowjob than listen to a podcast.
Is your wife
really,
there? I hope your wife is listening to this.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
She knows.
All right.
She knows.
Okay. Well, like you said, basically the importance of wrestling podcasts in the big picture. I mean, I love the fact that, if there was 3 people listening to this and telling us we were doing a good job, it'd be enough for me. I'd be happy with it. If you guys can take half an hour to an hour on this episode and get some enjoyment out of it and have some laughs, then that's the best thing that we could hope for. I mean, these guys, like I said, these guys that take themselves so seriously when they're doing these podcasts and stuff, I think they've really gone over the top. I don't think there's fucking wrestlers in the wrestling industry that take the shit as seriously as some of these fans that are doing podcasts are. So in terms of TR, like you said, he blasted me on his way out the door of Cool Kids because I think the biggest thing was I wasn't supporting 605 and I wasn't supporting the stuff that they were doing there. And like I said earlier, it just wasn't my entertainment at all. I'm not entertained by jokes about wrestlers in the 80s, and it's just not amusing to me. I'm just bored by it, It was nothing personal with him as far as that goes. I just didn't find the subject matter of his stuff or the show itself entertaining in the least. So it wasn't a matter of, not supporting a friend or whatever the case may be. If the friend in question was producing quality stuff like Jim Vicious, who I don't even know from before the podcasting, that person is producing quality stuff, so I'm always going to praise the quality stuff that person does. If a friend of mine produces stuff that I think is garbage, I'm not going to just say, "Oh my God, you guys got to listen to this because it's so." No, it's garbage. It doesn't override the friendship. I'm sorry. The
cool
friendship
thing,
doesn't override the fact that I just don't think the product is that entertaining.
And we talked about this after we went off the air with the Who's Right guys. I did, and it's just the idea that we can do a podcast. The medium, this medium of podcasting is something that somewhere deep down, we all grew up wanting to either be a DJ or a sports guy or something, or able to talk bullshit, and we're able to do it on a decent budget and not, we're not making money. It's our time right now, and we don't take it serious. But yeah, I mean, the thing about it is there's so many flavors when it comes to wrestling podcasts. Or any other kind of podcast, which has made me venture out on, other subjects and things that I would never listen to, that you can say, look, I don't like it. I think some of the funniest shit, and this is my opinion, and I said it actually when Tom was on here, and it was on that bloopers reel, is some of the stuff with Tom and Brian, when Tom is saying some of the stupidest shit. And it's because it's funny because I know Tom. And he acts, you said it wasn't funny to you, but I understand that's not you.
Right.
It's something you find funny, I might not find funny. And he did, make a connection with that audience. We seen that, but when I brought him on the show to talk about it. So there is a connection with the craziness he did. I loved I loved the Tommy Rich character, and I loved T.R. Knack. And sometimes Tom would say something, and it just, he would make Brian laugh, what I say for real. But, you could just tell Brian was just losing it because, Thomas is funny as shit sometimes. But yeah, I hope that answered your questions, guys. And I am sorry, but this is the longest podcast that we've ever did. This broke the record tonight. I'm not sorry, guys.
But still not 4 hours, though.
Still not 4 hours. I appreciate y'all listening to it. Coming up Tuesday will be Gene Jackson. And then we have next Thursday's special edition will be, not next Thursday, this coming Thursday, will be that round table, or that clusterfuck is what I'm going to probably call it. The clusterfuck episode.
Hey, as long as JoJo is there, I'm happy.
Remember, it's JoJo Phoenix.
Oh, fuck. You keep having to bring me back to reality on that. God damn it.
All right. Thank y'all again. Same bat. No, I'm not going to do that. See you later, Ryan.
Lunchless swine. Out.
Love my mama.